Scientists are leaving no stone unturned in trying to find that elusive cure for diabetes. Today we have with us Dr. Shashi Singh, who is having a totally different approach towards it. She is trying to find out what exactly is going wrong with the glucose metabolism in the body. So let us go to her lab and see her amazing research. Rapid urbanization is causing many Asians to steadily shift towards the Western way of living and eating. Genetically, Indians are prone to diabetes, the silent killer which is now spreading like an epidemic. 33 million of the world's diabetics are Indians. 12% of the urban Indian population suffers from type 2 diabetes or the insulin resistance syndrome. Unfortunately, diabetics have very few practical therapeutic options, forcing doctors and scientists to worry and do something about it. Though researchers worldwide are looking for a solution to this dilemma by creating new healthy pancreatic cells with the help of stem cells, Dr. Shashi Singh, a scientist at CCMB or the Center for Cellular and Molecular Biology, is trying to look at this problem from an entirely different angle.
Generally, we believe that diabetes is a disease of hyperglycemia, that is increased blood glucose levels, and it occurs in families. But what was surprising is that increase in the cases of diabetes, especially among the urban population. That fascinated me, and I wanted to know more about diabetes. And while reading, what I came across was the involvement of amyloids, a kind of misfolded protein aggregation found in certain diseases.
While there are many different types of diabetes, a common feature in most, if not all forms, is chronic high blood glucose, which eventually leads to many of the debilitating and fatal side effects of diabetes, such as heart and kidney diseases.
There are many types of diabetes. The common types of diabetes that we see, what we call as the adult onset diabetes, otherwise known as type 2 diabetes, which usually comes after the age of 30. That too when one or the other parent is a diabetic, and much more so when the individual puts on weight. So that is the commonest types. You can say that more than 90 out of 100 have this type of diabetes. Whereas when diabetes comes in at very young age, then they have very severe type of diabetes, and they have to take insulin injections both morning and night to survive and to grow and to lead normal life. So that is known as type 1 diabetes. The third variety, which is again has become very common, is the type of diabetes which comes in the after 6th month of pregnancy. This we call as gestational diabetes. So you can say it is pregnancy related diabetes, which quite often disappears soon after delivery.
What exactly causes diabetes? The hormone insulin, secreted by the pancreas, is the key that opens the cell gates or receptors for glucose, which the body cells need to produce energy. If the pancreatic cells are defective, the glucose receptors remain shut and the cells don't get energy. The patients feel very tired. Diabetes occurs if fasting sugar level crosses 110 milligrams per 100 milliliters of blood. Amylin is a protein co-secreted along with insulin by beta cells of the pancreatic islets. Amylin is supposed to be a major satiety factor apart from regulating glucose mechanism. Under certain undefined conditions, this protein gets deposited as fibrils, forming plaques, resulting in beta cell death and abnormal insulin production.
Formation of plaques or amyloid plaques, as it is called in many diseases. Apart from diabetes, they are seen in Alzheimer's, in prion diseases, in mad cow disease. And what happens here is generally a protein which is normally functioning in the body, either due to mutation or due to improper processing, it takes a different conformation and it starts getting deposited as amyloids.
Preventive measures can go a long way to keep the silent killer at bay.
In type 2 diabetes, amyloid factor, there is a decreased sensitivity of peripheral tissues which are supposed to consume glucose to insulin. So what happens is, the body is not able to respond to the insulin. There is an increase in the glucose levels in the body because the muscles and the liver and the adipose tissue are not able to utilize the glucose, and pancreas senses it as an increased demand for insulin and secretes more insulin and amylin. So that could be one of the factors, that you have increased amylin production and it gets deposited in the pancreas because there is no utilization of that much of amylin in the body.
In the pancreas, the islet beta cells secrete insulin along with amylin in healthy individuals. But in people suffering from type 2 diabetes, toxic protein deposits called islet amyloids occur next to the islet beta cells that secrete insulin. These islet amyloids appear to destroy beta cells, contributing to the loss of insulin secretion that occurs in type 2 diabetes. What triggers the aggregation of amyloids?
What triggers amyloid deposition is not very clear. The only thing we know is that probably it is because of increased concentration of amylin in circulation and due to increased amylin production initially during the type 2 diabetes. The factors are so far not known, and they are not known for any of the diseases which show amyloid formation. And probably there is a protein misfolding, though in case of amyloid the initial sequence of amylin is same in case of normal people as well as in case of diabetic people, but there is no mutation involved here. But there could be misfolding because of other reasons, and that causes the amyloid formation.
Shashi is trying to induce similar conditions in a petri dish in her lab by using cell cultures to study the induction of amyloid formation.
Apart from trying to induce the conditions which lead to the deposition of amyloid in the pancreas, we are also trying to simulate on the conditions in which we will be able to monitor the beta cell function or death on exposure to the amyloids. What we are trying to do is, we are culturing the beta cells or the established cell lines of the beta cells. We are exposing them to preformed amyloids and then studying the pattern of insulin secretion, amylin secretion or cell death.
More and more young and affluent urban people are falling prey to diabetes, and unfortunately 80% of them aren't even aware of it.
See, even in case if the parents have diabetes, till they have some problem they don't get themselves checked, or that they never think that because either the father or mother has diabetes, they don't bother to see that they are physically active, they don't bother to control their weight gain, and with the result, very late, once they have symptoms, then only they go to a doctor.
The high blood sugar level can often be controlled by diet and medication. Some patients need to take insulin compulsorily. This 34-year-old man usually takes his mother, a diabetic, for a routine checkup. Of late, he was suffering from classic symptoms of diabetes but chose to ignore. He got a mild shock when the doctor confirmed that he too has diabetes like his mother.
Actually, I have been feeling a little tired over the last 4 or 5 years, especially after working for some time. I used to feel sleepy, but I never knew I was a diabetic. Today morning I came to get my mother checked for diabetes, and coincidentally I asked for a test of my blood, and it so happened that the doctor said that my sugar is higher than my mother's. So I was a little astonished.
The major complication in particularly the adult onset or type 2 diabetes is the heart problem. 70 to 80% of type 2 diabetics have cardiac problem, and as you know, the commonest cardiac problem what people call as the coronary artery disease.
Shashi and her team have already cloned the amylin gene that can be expressed in human beta cells. She has also come up with beta cell lines and non-pancreatic cells.
These cell cultures are being done so that we can transfect that amylin gene which we have cloned and study the expression of amylin gene in established cell lines to study the formation of amyloid in the presence of certain other factors like fatty acid concentration, the lipid concentration, changed glucose concentration or the basement membrane components.
Is she also trying to do something with type 1 diabetes, where the patient's own body rejects its own islet beta cells?
In type 1 diabetes, which is basically an autoimmune disease, the patient's body rejects its own beta cells, so there is no source of insulin in the body. The patient has to take daily injections of insulin, and we are starting a project in which we are trying to culture the islet cells as well as try to differentiate islets from other sources like umbilical cord blood, from the fetal sources and from the bone marrow.
The scientists at CCMB are engaged in frontier research and multidisciplinary areas of modern biology like cell biology and development, molecular biology, biochemistry and biophysics, genetics and evolution, biotechnology and biomedicine. Dr. Shashi joined CCMB in 1988 after finishing her PhD from the University of Delhi. She is also in charge of the electron microscope since 1999.
I take care of the electron microscope facility of CCMB. Besides my own work, that is the ultrastructural studies of amyloids, I take care of other people's need from CCMB as well as from other places in the city, like from LV Prasad, Kamineni Hospital or other labs from Central University, and sometimes even from other cities people come and use our facility, and we offer them help.
Earlier, Shashi worked on the mechanism of steroid hormones, which can explain why certain chemical compounds that mimic estrogens can cause infertility and cancers of the reproductive organs.
We were working on the effect of estradiol on vaginal epithelial cells. What I had done is I had worked on the non-nuclear action, like most of the steroid hormones are supposed to go directly to the nucleus and initiate gene transcription, that is the formation of protein also. But what I had tried to do is what happens before the gene action starts of steroid hormones. So we have come across another novel, not exactly novel, but a receptor for the hormone on the surface of the membrane. And this receptor we found was responding to many of the xenoestrogens, that is the environmental estrogens, which are reported to be involved in major cases of reproductive cancers as well as male infertility.
Shashi never seems to be tired of peering at cells through the microscope in her lab. But at home, her cells know how to rewind and relax.
I read a lot of books, not fiction but other things. I compose myself, I write poems, both Hindi and English. I love cooking, all kinds of cooking, and my lab mates will tell you more about it if you ask them. They are my guinea pigs, and gardening, of course.
How does she cope with the rigors of research?
Rigors? I actually enjoy the things I am doing here. I only fret when the things start piling up and my table is never clear.
With 2 little girls to take care and a husband always away on tours, this committed woman scientist does a tightrope balancing act between her home and profession.
Everybody from my family, each member helps me. Of course, they have to bear my temper. And husband, of course, he doesn't help physically, but he keeps us entertained and gives a lot of moral support.
So you have seen this cool lady scientist and her team doing some painstaking research to understand the disease at the molecular level. They have miles to go before they can come up with something concrete.